Who's keeping up with this submarine stuff? Holy cow.
Seth sent me the video last night. And bro, this gives me the EBGBs. Do you want to kind of go over before you started or what?
Guys. 5 people climbed into a submarine that can only be opened and closed from the outside. Okay? This submarine can only be opened and closed from the outside. All right? The submarine, we're assuming, lost power. Essentially, they paid $250,000 per person to be on this tiny submarine. Yeah, $250,000 per chair. And apparently, either the power cut out and they're floating down there, or they've surfaced and they can't get contact with anybody and they're just trapped in this tin can waiting for help. Now, that's best case scenario if they get saved. If they don't get saved and they're going to pass, the best case scenario is that this thing imploded. Because I would not want to be in a pitch black can starving to death next to people I don't know.
No, and when you see this video, you're gonna see, like, you're gonna have, I felt claustrophobia.
I've already had a nightmare from this. Legitimately, I've already had a nightmare from this.
And they've so far been in it for little over 24 hours.
My theory is underwater alien civilizations took them. Doubt. Press X for doubt. I don't think they were that lucky. Okay.
All right, play it.
Yeah, let's take a look at this.
I want to watch this.
A frantic search by air, on the surface, and thousands of feet down in the depths of the Atlantic Ocean. The Coast Guard in Boston leading an international mission to find a lost sub that was carrying tourists to the Titanic. Tonight, it is a race against the clock because the 5 people on board that small submersible have a limited amount of air. And right now, search crews don't know exactly where they are or what may have happened to them. Thank you for joining us. I'm David Wade. The Titanic expedition for wealthy adventure seekers usually carries 3 paying passengers. We know one of them is British businessman Hamish Harding. His company posted this photo of him on Instagram shortly before the sub disappeared. Tonight, we have team coverage explaining where the sub may have gone and what we know about the company that runs these expensive tours. We begin with Ken McLeod at the Coast Guard station in Boston. Ken?
The Boston Coast Guard is coordinating this search and rescue effort, and it's a logistical nightmare. It's really far away, very deep, and the clock is ticking.
It doesn't seem real yet. It'll hit me a little bit later on about what this all might mean.
Oceanographer Dave Gallo is still struggling to process it all because he knows at least 2 of the 5 people on board the missing submersible.
What we're focused on is finding those 5 people.
The Ocean Gate expedition shoved off from Newfoundland last week, bound for the Titanic wreckage some 430 miles to the south and 900 miles east of Cape Cod. On Sunday morning, the submersible named Titan began its descent to the shipwreck, where radio contact with the mini.
Did you see that? The submarine, guys?
As we all are, this will end well.
20 years ago, Titanic.
If that thing had a Coke sponsor, you would assume it was a Coke can. Like, legit, that thing is terrible.
Yes!
All right, so real quick, I'm seeing some things in chat I just want to cover as well. They don't have 92 hours of air until the air runs out, right? They have that many hours of air on reserve. They also have these things called CO2 scrubbers, which will kind of keep the CO2 out. And then in that amount of space with 5 people, you can also add about 10 hours before the CO2 starts to get to the point where they pass out, and then another like 6 hours before they don't come back. So like where they're not only passed out, but like the CO2 gets bad enough that they like die from it.
Yeah.
So it's pretty bad, but yeah, it's not like, oh, right at 92 hours, we all just give up and assume they're dead, because that's not the case, right? Like there's other things that have to go wrong if they pass in that time. So clarifying that one, but yeah, it's crazy that this is going on. Especially, apparently, this is the 3rd trip that this thing has made to the Titanic, including its test run. Like, who the heck signed up for this and was like, I want to ride on that for $250,000? That's insane to me. Actually insane.
And what I don't understand too, like, I mean, I'm sure it'll show it in the video, so I won't say it. But what makes me just like curl up is, I don't know if you guys saw the size of the submarine. Like, you can't stand.
You can't stand at all. You have to have hands and
Everybody
knees
is sitting
everywhere.
or like they're sitting the whole time.
I don't even think you could crouch walk in this thing, especially looking at the age of the people that are on this thing. All right, let's take a look. Let's keep going.
Historian Don Lynch was in another submersible that dove to the famed 1912 shipwreck and says he always felt safe. But he says getting crushed by the tremendous pressure at a depth of almost 2.5 miles is certainly a possibility.
To me, it would be worse, obviously, if these people are trapped down there and they run out of oxygen. That would be a horrible ending for this.
Military and Coast Guard planes are already flying overhead and sonar buoys are pinging the depths. But mounting any sort of timely underwater rescue out there would be a tall order. The Titan has only a 96-hour life support capacity, and it could be on the very bottom.
Okay, so that's the first time I've heard that, a 96-hour life support capacity. So that means it's 96 hours of adding air tanks, CO2 scrubbers, and other methods of keeping the air clean. So after 96 hours, people are starting to pass out and the CO2 is getting poisonous. So that clarifies that. So it's not 92 hours or 96 hours of air. It's 96 hours of life support. So that's including the CO2 scrubbers, which is crazy.
Yeah, and I was watching the interview on the news of the guy that did the last tour, like had taken it 19, something like that. And he was talking about like it could extend a little longer if they control.
Yeah, and again,
But
96
I'm sure
hours is
they're hyperventilating and freaking out,
Yeah, 96 hours is when it stops, right, Benjamin? So they're not dead at 96 hours.
Yeah,
It's about 100 to 108 hours before they're dead. So
Jazz cuts in and out, kind of. I'm
I don't
trying.
know if you turned your mic down or what's going on.
No, but because of your earplug, you're talking really loud at sometimes, and you are actually picking it. I don't know.
Out. Yeah.
But I don't know what's going on with my mic. But thank you so much, Timothy.
I'll turn your filter down one notch real quick.
Okay. BG is fine for me. Oh, okay, cool. Then I'm not sure then. But yeah, I've watched like everything I could on this thing, and it is so scary. But there is, everything that I've watched says there's 5 people.
Yeah,
there's the richest man in Pakistan and his son that's 19 years old.
I don't know if he's the richest man in Pakistan, is it? Well, let's keep watching.
He's a billionaire.
Let's verify this real quick.
He's a billionaire. Hold on. And then it's the owner of the company. And then his friend that they like
you're speculating.
Worked with. I watched it on the news. Yeah, three viewers, 2 managers. Yeah.
Surface, it's floating out there, and it just needs to be found by the Coast Guard. That's my hope right now.
Dave Gallo has been to the site a handful of times, and he certainly understands why people want to risk the trip down to see history for themselves.
I'm looking. You want to take the trip down to see history for yourself, you're looking at it. They've got all the film. They've got 3D layouts of this thing underwater. Like, you could experience this without physically being right next to it. Like, what else is going to happen while you're down there? It's a stagnant, decaying ship underneath the water.
Yeah, and the only little porthole window that they have is in the bathroom.
Yeah, you're not really seeing it all that well through that tiny porthole, and you're taking turns. For $250,000, you're taking turns looking through this porthole.
I wonder, will it get, I don't know if this video will per se, but about like the tour inside.
Yeah, we'll go to that. This video is almost done.
All right, bet.
We'll get a list of the people in a tour.
Turning back. There's so many stories to be told.
The Coast Guard says it's contacted several private firms looking for a submersible and the expertise to pull off an underwater rescue attempt, should it come to that. On the waterfront, Ken McLeod, WBZ News.
There's no way. So if they were going to do an underwater rescue, right, this is what would have to go down. Number one, you have to take into the pressure that they're rescuing them at. So once you get all the bolts, because this thing is bolted, it's a circle, right? It's a giant, it's literally like if you took this and then you cut right here all the way around, and you were able to bolt the bottom of this drink back on. And not the base, but like all the way up here. So you have to, if you were going to underwater rescue these guys, you have to completely enclose this seal it, have somebody inside go in and undo those bolts and then open it to get those people out. There's no way they're going to be able to do an underwater rescue on this thing. They have to bring it back to the surface or extremely close to the surface. Like, there's just no way. It's absolutely insane because even just the pressure of the water on the submarine itself would not allow you to open that until you're very close to the surface.
I watched, this won't be in, I don't think this will be in this, but I watched the video of the guy that owns the company.
Yeah.
And he was giving the tour, and a part of the tour, I don't know if you saw, but he was going over the porthole that's in the bathroom and what it's made out of. And he says it's like plexiglass, and he says it weighs over 80 pounds. And when it goes at a certain depth, the pressure will almost like shrink it some. And he's like, you know, and it has been, you know, known to crack, but like it will give us a fair enough warning if it does.
What?
That's what he said.
There's no way. So,
I will send you the video. It literally, he said it'll you'll feel it pop in because it like the pressure.
Oh no.
And that's what he said. He said it's cracked before, but we made it thicker.
How you doing, Tahara?
It shouldn't.
Another thing about this is, would it be too much pressure? So if you are in a car and a car goes into the lake, right? You cannot open that car door with human strength until the inside of the car is completely full of water. So and that's because the air inside is such low pressure and so low weight compared to the water outside that's pushing in on the car. And that's just at like 5 to 6 feet of water depth. You would not be able to get the car door open. And the way this thing is closed up, it slightly hinges open like off the side. So there's exactly. That car is not 2 miles deep. There's no way there's an underwater rescue could happen on this thing. I don't think an underwater rescue could happen on this thing unless it was in a pool. Like, there's just no way. So this is insane. Let's pull up one more video on this, see if we can get like an influencer point of view with some more information and possibly the tour. Titan submarine tour. Let's see this.
Yeah, do you have that one TikTok that you sent me that looks like shows the tour inside? Because it's crazy. Hi, dysfunctional band kid.
All right, this video is 8 minutes. Let's give them some time.
For more on what the Coast Guard says will be a challenging mission to find this missing submersible with its 5 people on board. Again, 13,000 feet deep. Oren, you're at the Pentagon. Tell us more about the different search capabilities that are heading to that area.
Alex, a few different types of aircraft taking part in this search, each with their specific...
I could care less. Oh, another thing real quick, guys. One of the things that, like, news reporters, God help them, they don't know what the heck they're talking about. There's way too many subjects that they cover, and some of the speculation that they do adds so much misinformation. There was a person talking to them. One of the news reporters was talking to an expert that was dropping these sonar buoys down, and they're talking about what they're listening for. And the anchor said, "So are you listening for their voices?" You think you're gonna hear a voice inside of a submarine in the water? Like, no, they're listening for at most knocking. So if they're in the submarine and they're knocking on the side of the wall of the submarine, they might hear that. And the reason is because when you knock on that, there's a chance that the frequency goes high enough that sonar is going to pick it up as if it was mapping an area. And then they're also listening for pings back because the sonar sends out noise and then the noise comes back to it, right? Yeah. And it's just one of those things where you could see it on the guy's face. He didn't want to call the anchor out for how stupid that comment is. But please, for the love of God, don't think for a second that they're listening for somebody's voice under the water.
And before we continue this video, can I just play this really quick TikTok just so they can have this in mind while watching it?
Well,
guys, I'm just showing him this one.
Oh yeah,
guys, this is how it's controlled. Watch this. Watch this.
I can't stop watching this video of the tour of the submarine that's missing.
Sub seemed improvised. We can use these off-the-shelf components. I got these from Camper World. We run the whole thing with this game controller.
Come on!
Look at this controller. This is what controls the entire submarine. This Logitech controller that you would get at Walmart for $5. This isn't even a good controller. I'm not a gamer, but I know a good controller when I see a good controller. That's what's controlling it. And people pay $250,000 to go into this submarine controlled by a Logitech Walmart controller.
We're not even lying like this. Here, let me go to yours because you're gonna show that. And he added like the Joy-Cons that are a bit thicker,
Yeah,
but Logitech removed it on Amazon.
They added custom Joy-Cons, but yeah, so that controller, if you read the reviews on Amazon, there's like 20 plus reviews that say great design, but keeps disconnecting.
Every single review is all about it disconnecting.
Not every single. Again,
most
about
of them,
20.
all the bad
but
ones.
There's only like 50 reviews that are verified purchasers of this product.
And I didn't play the whole video, but the guy that was he's the like CEO of the company, and he was showing the controller. He's like, yeah, and it's Bluetooth, and I could just hand it to anybody,
And I could just throw it around, and he threw it. He threw it. He threw the controller. Let's see if I think they might play it. Let's see.
I don't know, but it's like, bro, no way.
All right, hold on. I'm playing it. Let's see if he throws
have
it.
launched or are ready to launch C-130 Hercules. These are 4-engine aircraft designed specifically for long-range, long-endurance patrols. So they're able to stay up for an extended period of time and search the surface of the water, whether that's for debris or if the submersible surfaced and lost communications. So they're likely in charge of that role, given that this could be quite a large search area. Canada has also launched a P-8 Poseidon. Brian mentioned this is a submarine hunter, and that's what its specialty is. It has different ways of detecting the mass of a body of metal underwater, and that's what it will try to focus on. The challenge here is that this submersible is far smaller than an enemy submarine, but to its advantage, at least this submersible wants to be found. One of the ways it will search is with what are called sonar buoys. It drops these into the water, and these listen for any sound or acoustic signature. Sound obviously travels very well underwater, so these can hear for miles in different directions. And if there is some sound, you can use a few of these different sonar buoys to try to essentially triangulate or zoom in precisely on the location of where this submersible may be. Crucially, for these to work, the submersible has to make some sort of sound. So that's one of the key questions that remains here. Earlier today, there was a press conference from the Coast Guard. They said there are...
I'm going to skip ahead a little bit because this is just covering search. I'm going to look for where they give the tour of it, of the submersible. It said there was a point where they get the view of the tour. Doesn't look like it's in here. They lied to me. Hold on.
Yeah, you sent me a TikTok at some point. But guys, isn't this nuts? Like, this just happened a couple days ago. And it's controlled by a cheap Logitech controller. And it's Bluetooth. Like, I can't get over that. And then in the tour, he points up to all the lights. He's like,
here it is.
I got this at the camping store, like a Cabela's.
I found it. Camp World, not Cabela's.
Or Camp World. I thought it was like a Cabela's. Already a couple. It was like
I'm the CEO
over 24 hours.
Let's take a look at Titan. So we're coming into the sub. This is the only toilet available on a deep diving submersible. Best seat in the house. You can look out the viewport.
So real quick before we go into the sub, everybody take a look at this. Each one of these holes here is where it's being bolted from the outside. This thing is so airtight. There is no human chance that anything on board of this sub would let people get out of the sub. So it has to be found. If it's floating even at the surface, can you imagine you are with 5 other people and you can look out this little glass porthole and you can see the outside, but you have to wait for rescue and you could be there for days or rescue might never find you in time. Can you just like put yourself in that situation? I was in my office today and I just had to go over and open the door to my office. I was just like, I can't be in an enclosed room today. This is insane.
And I don't know about you, But like my first thought, if I'm going to be doing that, I'm not going to paint the dang thing gray and white.
Oh my gosh.
Like, why isn't it like a neon bright yellow, orange or something like that? Like that could be easily seen if something happened. No, like that blends in, dude. And if the sun hits it, like, because how the sun reflects on water, it's super bright. If a plane was to fly over, they're not going to see that.
All right, let's go inside of it.
Titan. So we're coming into the sub. This is the only toilet available on a deep diving submersible. Best seat in the house. You can look out the viewport. We put a privacy screen in, turn up the music, and it's very popular.
Best seat in the house.
We have our control screen here.
Guys, he just went from the front to the back to the front. He's already there.
Look at the keyboard.
Or the front to the back. Oh yeah, it's another
That's
Logitech.
the cheap keyboards we used at Best
Can
Buy.
we get a clear shot of that keyboard?
Oh my gosh.
Popular.
I mean, there's another one there.
Best seat in the
That looks
house.
like an
You can look out
Insignia
the viewport.
keyboard.
We put a privacy screen in, turn up the music, and it's
I just saw one of the controllers.
And see what we mean? People cannot stand up in there. That's how small it is. How high the ceiling is.
Taking a completely new approach to the
There's the
sub-design.
controller.
That's 3D printed. Wait a minute. You can see the 3D print lines on this thing. They 3D printed this, and then they basically glued it on.
They did. No way. Like, look it.
They glued it on.
It's a gaming
They glued it on.
controller, bro. Like, no. And each passenger spent $250,000.
$250,000, and they're using a controller that's basically like this. And they glued it on so that instead of using their thumb, they can go
and he's like,
with their fingers and make it look like they're really doing something.
He's like, if I want to move up, I just move up. If I want to go left or right,
I just do this.
Dude.
Completely new approach to the
Oh my
sub-design.
gosh.
It's all run with this game controller and these touch screens. So if you want to go forward, you press forward. If you want to go back, you go back. Turn left, turn right, go down, go up. And it's Bluetooth, so I can hand it to anybody. And
It's Bluetooth. Guys, it's Bluetooth. Do you know how many games I've played with this, which probably costs more and is more reliable? What the heck? At least the U.S. military used first-party Xbox 360 controllers for their drones. I'm saying. Welcome in, Filthy Bear. Like, what the heck is going on? All right, this is my favorite part of this whole tour right here. This is it. Like, this just tells you that this whole thing was made to fail.
turn left, turn right, go down, go up. And it's Bluetooth, so I can hand it to anybody. And it's meant for a 16-year-old.
And he just tosses it.
You guys wanna guess if this is gonna work at 100% if I throw it right now?
Stop.
Like, there's just no way. The toss, that's what I'm saying. This guy is talking about going into one of the most dangerous places that people can go to besides, like, maybe the surface of the sun in a couple years. And he's throwing it.
And what, like, really gets to me and actually is kind of scary is the fact that this man and the other person that came on board with him, they have over a decade experience with submarines and aircrafts. Like, they helped build them and design them. And they're doing this.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, I watched 2 seconds of this tour and I already was like, oh, hell no. And I have no knowledge in this.
This is crazy. All right, let's finish the tour here.
We'll throw it around and super durable.
We've already seen the whole thing.
On board just in case. This is the second
There's
year
the
we've been out
porthole.
to the Titanic. We went out in 5.
Do you hear what he just said? This is the second year that we've been out to the Titanic. Guys, the current voyage that's missing is the 3rd time that it's ever been there. He's literally, like, just lying. Like it's not lying, but it is lying. You can't go to some place one time and say, okay, this is the 2nd year that we've been there.
Her time is not the charm.
8
No.
We did about 10 dives to the wreck site of the Titanic, and we did an extra dive on an undiscovered reef that we found. Completely privately funded operation, and we're funded by we call mission specialists who help support the mission. So they take quite a bit of money to come and join us. Years ago, the Russians took tourists out to the Titanic, and it was just sort of a look and see thing. We really
Look at him sitting. Look at the gap between the top of his head and the top of this. He's even slouching forward.
Yeah, imagine being stuck in this submarine, scared for your life, and you have to sit like that with 4 other people.
Yeah, heck no.
In pitch black.
And look at this
dark.
look at this little GoPro right here. Everybody see this GoPro? Wait till they release this footage in 10 years. 5 to 10 years, we're all going to be seeing the footage that was caught by this GoPro. Oh, yeah.
That's so traumatizing.
The Netflix documentary and the Hulu documentary, all right here on this GoPro. Cheese and crackers. Oh, my gosh.
It's probably of him being like, everybody's freaking out. He's just like, this is part of the plan.
Imagine it imploding with water pressure. So if they're not saved in the time and they suffocate in this thing, that's the best case scenario, is that it imploded. Because at least it would be quick. You know what I mean? Like
your brain couldn't even comprehend that anything happened, how quick that is.
Personally prefer that than slowly suffocating next to these people. Because I'm going to be honest, as soon as we're calculating how much air and time we have left, and then we're like, we only have 24 hours, I'm going to be like, well, if half of us aren't here, we have 48 hours.
That literally was my first thought. Like, they weren't allowed to bring any food. I think everyone was allowed to bring 1 water bottle. And as Seth told me earlier, you know that 19-year-old drank that, right?
Yeah, the 19-year-old is out of water already, guys. He drank that in the first hour. Like, let's be real here. The 19-year-old already drank all his water.
Oh, and they weren't able to wear shoes.
And he's staring at his empty water bottle right now like, oh my God, Dad, please share with me. Like,
weren't able to have
crap.
any wear shoes or anything like that, right? Maybe like, I don't know. I don't know why they weren't able to wear shoes.
The subs actually make their own oxygen. Yeah, we were talking about that. They have air reserves and they have CO2 scrubbers. So they're not making their own oxygen. They're just removing the carbon part away from the O2 atom to kind of like purify the air.
Lorenzo said, I'm going to take nuggets in my pocket.
Oh, yeah, for real. Oh, man.
Lorenzo
Can you
pulls
imagine
out a chicky
you're on
nugget.
hour 32 of this thing and somebody just hears the crinkle of your freaking granola bar and you're just like,
puffs.
all right, we're not making fun of this, guys. These people could be alive inside this thing right now. Holy crap.
And it's so sad to say, like, I hope they're like, I hope it was imploded if they weren't going to get saved.
Yeah, if they get saved, thank God. If they don't get saved, I hope it imploded because I would not want to go out waiting in this thing or potentially making the choice to like take somebody out. That's if the electricity is still running on the purification system. They do have a few air purifiers that do not take electricity that are like drop down, hang from the wall CO2 scrubbers. So they have some that don't take electricity. Yeah, let's just finish out the tour real quick.
Really are focusing on the science around it. We want to document what the wreck is like now and also try to predict what it'll be like in the future. It's continuing to decay and it seems to be accelerating. It's being eaten by a bacteria, so it's literally being eaten by the ocean. It's not rusting away. So these things that are called rusticles are actually the byproduct of a bacteria that eats the iron. And as it does that, these decks are collapsing. The promenade deck continues to collapse forward. We saw some of the rain.
Skip this. He's not talking about the sub anymore.
Can you get funding to go back every year for decades and see how coral reefs develop and see how metals decay and see how currents change?
Okay, well, now you're a part of that whole system. So the whole Kid Boo, if you're just coming into this submarine went missing yesterday. Maybe a little bit before yesterday, and they now have Coast Guards looking for it. It's got, and let's be honest here, the only reason people are looking for him is because it has at least 3 billionaires on it. If this thing, which we know this for a fact, like every month there's people and things that look like this coming over from Cuba and landing in Florida. I used to live in Florida, okay? Like, this was happening all the time. Like, news would come on and they would be like, these guys just walked out of this thing onto the beach, and it'd literally be a bathtub with inflatables tied to it that they were keeping inflated by just like blowing into it. Like, it's crazy that happens, and nobody's out there really looking for them or stopping them from coming to the U.S. The only reason we have so many people looking for this thing is because it's full of billionaires right now, which is just insane.
Yeah.
Submarines are the hardest thing to find too. I'm saying, like, somebody was like, it's like a needle in a haystack. I was like, no, dude, it's like an atom and a pencil. Like, this thing is ridiculously hard to find. It's nearly impossible.
Especially the color they painted the thing.
Yeah.
Like, there's just no way. And the really scary thing is the worst case scenario is if they decided to tour, let's say they made it to the Titanic and decided to kind of like pour it deeper than they're supposed to and got stuck. There's no, they have nothing to be able to save them or get them out.
We'll look at it one more time, Kid Boo. There's another, this guy goes on a tour of it real quick.
Yeah, we could show, it'll probably show again, but the front of it was like a light gray and the rest of it was just pure white.
Yeah, it's like a metallic color and then white on the outside.
Yeah.
Submersible vessel that has not been approved or certified by any regulatory body.
Yeah, sorry.
And could result in physical injury, disability, emotional trauma, or death. Where do I sign?
You hear that? These people signed that. So it hasn't been certified by any governing body that talks about this stuff. Like, it's completely experimental still.
I would make it bright orange. That's what I was saying. Like, why would you not, in case of an emergency where, let's say you floated up and they need to see you, like in any case,
Yeah,
why would you not
all
make it
day.
a bright color? It's just crazy to me.
Actually insane. All right, let's keep this going.
Certified by any regulatory body and could result in physical injury, disability, emotional trauma, or death. Where do I sign?
David Pogue.
Where do I sign?
We only have one button. That's it. It should be.
See, look at the inside.
Couldn't help notice.
You hear what he just said? We have one button and that's it. It should be like an elevator. Bruh, elevators have way more buttons than that. Even when you're calling them up, they at least has two buttons. On the outside of it, it's got two buttons.
Yeah,
What are you talking about? It's got
button.
one button, should be like an elevator.
Yep, got one button. He said, "Don't worry, guys. We got another controller or something of a cheap Logitech Bluetooth controller that's $20 on Amazon."
Looks like an expensive septic tank. Aussie, I'm telling you, in 5 years, when people are allowed to make jokes about this, you're going to be, you know those, when you're driving into a small city, like a small town, and you pass by that one propane shop on the way in, and they have that giant tank of refillable propane that everybody goes up to fill up their propane tanks? That's what it looks like. It looks like that, plus the little clear dome that's on the outside of a McDonald's playpen. Like, this thing is terrible.
And Kid Boo, they all signed a waiver to fake their death and hide out on an island. Bro, the conspiracies that I've been reading are nuts, but I don't know. I don't think
they went through all that. The Coast
they're
Guard and all these guys
billionaires.
wouldn't
They
be out
could have,
here.
you know.
The search for them right now is running up a bill that's honestly costing more than it costs them to go on this trip.
We only have one button. That's it. It should be like an elevator.
I couldn't help noticing how many pieces of this sub seemed improvised.
Look at this. 2 HPA tank. Turn to dive. Vacuum, dive.
Hey, but there's a toilet.
And this is on the outside of it. Like, this is, all these tubes and things that you're seeing are on the outside of it. You're
Yeah.
expecting this plastic looking tube to hold up in that depth? No.
And the thing, real quick, Seth, with Lorenzo saying, but there's a toilet. Imagine this. The toilet, like, it's not like it really goes anywhere, right? It's kind of like a big Ziploc bag.
It's only a toilet until you run out of bags.
Imagine being stuck in there for a while. Usually when you are like, they're probably really hot in there. They're freaking out, hyperventilating. They're nauseous. Like, imagine the smell.
I'm nauseous. I'm
Imagine
freaking
the
out.
smell in that small. I just can't.
Thing's crazy. All right, let's finish this video.
Components. I got these from Camper World.
Camper World.
I got these from Camper World. You guys know some of the effects that happen on batteries when you take them in an airplane? You know some of the effects that happen on that? You understand what the effects are inside of this thing? If there's any type of breach or any type of leak at all, even if the leak is God save the Queen, small enough that it doesn't instantly implode this thing.
guys, you're not supposed to make me laugh about this. They said, shout out to Camper World, sponsor us,
We
please.
run the whole thing with this
That's
game
easy.
control.
No.
Oh.
Oh.
As soon as I seen that controller, I'm out.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. For real.
Oh my gosh.
And he was talking about it like it's some crazy, like, high-tech flex, you know?
Oh.
And it's like, dude.
He is kind of bragging about it.
Yes.
He's like, can you believe it?
He's like, it's Bluetooth.
No, I can't
could
believe it. I
and he
don't
threw
want to
it.
be on this thing.
He just threw it like so cocky, you know? Like, yeah, like I got this Bluetooth controller. I could hand it to anybody and they can control it.
Honestly.
I'm like, no.
Honestly,
dude.
if this thing was safe enough or not experimental, there would be more people. There would be more people going on this trip and it wouldn't be so expensive. They have to make it so expensive because of how many hours they have to put into it just to make it safe enough to go do this thing. Like, if the fuel doesn't cost that much, the guy piloting this thing probably charges a lot, but not nearly that much. Like, the whole thing is because they have to probably re-outfit the whole thing after each trip.
Rogue said when you order your sub from Wish. Oh, God.
It honestly,
technically, yeah.
it makes me mad, and I am going to be spending the next couple weeks with my office door open. I will not be shutting any doors. Jasmine, I'm sorry. When I'm in the bathroom, doors open.
No. Then courtesy flush at least.
We'll get a curtain and a Ziploc bag.
need potpourri.
This is how it's got to be.